Items at regular price. Prices.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support. Support comes from the Walker Arts Center. Did you know that the Walker has a cinema that shows film almost every week? From artist talks, genre-defined performances, and world premieres to archival shorts and experimental soundscapes, the Walker Cinema explores all modes of global and local filmmaking. Get your first tickets for free. Visit walkerart.org/cinema to learn more. That's walkerart.org/cinema. See you at the movies. Oh, this is Robert Pilot. For Native relatives, healing is more than just sobriety. It's reclaiming Indigenous masculinity as a sacred, balanced force. Join Hunter Thundercloud for Native Roots Radio presents Controlled Fire. We explore how personal recovery uplifts our communities. It's time men step back into roles as mentors and spiritual leaders. Recovery is collective, and it starts with us. Tune in the first and third Wednesday of every month at 6 p.m. for Native Roots Radio presents Controlled Fire. Let's tend the fire together.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Ever wonder how far you could go with a bachelor's or master's degree? Metro State University is hosting 2 open house events in February. Learn about our bachelor's degree programs on February 24th, explore master's degrees, doctoral degrees, and graduate certificates on February 26th. Find out about financial aid options and how to apply. Discover how Metro State can help you take the next step in your career. Sign up today at metrostate.edu/open house. You belong at Metro.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, cloudy with a low of 25, then Friday, cloudy with a low of 30. Step into Forts at Children's Theater Company. It's a fort-building wonderland where theatrical elements, evolving light and soundscapes, and towering towers of cardboard boxes set the scene for shared creative play. Forts, now through April 5th at Children's Theater Company. Tickets at childrenstheater.org.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut, hitting cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake. Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. Hey, we discuss local, national, Native news and events, and as you know, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues. Hey, we're going to be talking with our friend, Robert Lilligren, CEO of the Native American Community Development Institute, which is based in Minneapolis in Minnesota. Robert is also a white Earth citizen, and he is a friend of ours, and we just get great updates of what's going on, and we talk politics, we talk what's happening in Minnesota and nationally, and we talk about how old we are and how we're this down to our relatives, our young ones, and how proud we are of the relatives and young ones. Welcome, Robert, as always.
Yeah, bonjour, Robert. Bonjour, everyone. It's so good to be here. Yeah, we're just a couple of old farts talking these days.
Yeah, when we used to do the 2-hour show, and you would do a couple segments, and we pre-recorded those, and we had great talks before the show or before the recording, and I think I believe it's really transcended into this show into the once a week we get together, and I'm grateful for that because I really enjoyed those conversations years ago.
I am grateful too. I appreciate the opportunity, and I think both of us would agree that the pre-conversation we had before we did the recorded show was our favorite part.
Yeah, but I think now it's here on AM or on the weekly show, and I appreciate that because we talk about those things that like we're old enough to know that we couldn't practice our own religion until 1978, and all
Right.
those things that we lived through.
Right. And this is live, baby. So it's it has that thrill and excitement. But we do have a lot of shared experiences, and we've seen a lot of the trajectory that has led us here today, which is moving into an era when we really need to rely on these young leaders, these emerging leaders that are stepping forward, help keeping us safe, help keeping community fed, help keeping community patrolled, observing all the ICE activity that's going on here these days. And so yeah, it's been an interesting journey, and it's been an honor to be part of it.
Yeah, this is our 10th season, and I do believe you've been on for at least 8 or 9 years of Native Roots Radio, and we were young then.
Wise, right? Was.
Yeah, definitely. So we talk national and local. Let's talk a little local right now, and I don't know. Is ICE better at hiding now? Are we still seeing things happening here in the Twin Cities? I know I look at my iceout.org map, and I still see people posting things.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell. In some ways, it feels like it gets a little more tranquil, but in some ways, it doesn't. When they announced the first drawdown of 700 of the 3,000 agents, and who knows if that's actually happened. We don't really have a way of tracking it, but there was this real spike in sort of the level of brutality of the ICE and Customs and Border Patrol agents' methods. It got more brutal really quickly. That was obvious, and now there's almost this sense of quiet stuff is still happening. To your point, yes, ICE is way better at camouflaging themselves and setting up these situations, having women ICE agents fake that they're having car trouble so someone would come out and help them, and then surrounding that individual and taking them into custody. I'm hearing stories of, reports of people, ICE agents going door to door in one of the northern suburbs or house to house with flashlights and looking in their windows, which is grossly illegal. So right at our spot on the American Indian Cultural Corridor at All My Relations Arts Gallery, which is a headquarter for the protector, for the observers, the protectors, the organizers, and Powell Grounds Coffee Shop, it feels a little quieter right now, and we're kind of in a wait and see attitude. And I don't know if it's just that the ICE activity has been a little more decentralized. It feels like there's more going on in the suburbs right now, and even in rural Minnesota, and in the communities that are sort of the agricultural hubs that depend on immigrant workforce. And it feels like they're a little more active there. So I don't think they've gone away. I think they're just a little more secretive and a little more diffused.
Robert, can you help me? Because, I have a good memory, but it's short, and I'm getting some timers now. Sometimes I remember and sometimes I forget. But this whole big surge, we had ICE agents here, anywhere from 70 to, I heard 120 ICE agents in Minnesota. But when this fake person came to our community and did a broadcast at the Somalis daycare centers and things like that, is what really fired up Trump. And then soon after, am I right? I mean, again, this just all of a sudden happened. But looking back at it, it was kind of planned from what I think is our Republican people at the Capitol.
Right. And it's hard. I don't know what's going on in the mind of Trump or in the mind of the white supremacists that are engineering this, but I think your sequence of events was right. We had a fake news story that focused on fraud, government fraud here, and we had a very high-profile COVID-era fraud case that we were dealing with, and they kind of focused on that. So, although the ringleader of that fraud case, Feeding Our Futures is what it's called, and it was a white woman who really engineered the whole thing. But a lot of the nonprofits that participated were East African nonprofits, and so they focus on that. So ostensibly, this was sort of generated by fraud investigation, but that's not really the work of immigration enforcement, right? Or border control enforcement. So that doesn't really add up there. And these investigations were happening. Justice was being served. But I think that was an excuse used to ramp up this surge. And we went from, I think, our usual cadre of an immigration enforcement agents in our state is about 100 to 120 officers throughout the state. It's was surged to 3,000 officers who now rove about our communities in this lawless way and just interrupt. They detain people. They detain citizens. They detain Native people like crazy and brutalize them. They just hold them for a while, and when someone can prove their citizenship, then they release them. And so people here are going around with their papers, their tribal IDs, their passports, their birth certificates, or copies of all those documents, because they don't want them to get confiscated by the ICE and Border Patrol agents. But it's dystopian. It's not anything I thought I would ever see in my lifetime. But we here still in this Minneapolis-St. Paul region in Minnesota, we are under violent federal occupation.
Right. And it's interesting that some of people that I know from across the country that lean the other way really, really do not realize that, and don't realize how hurt and angry we are here in Minnesota and Minneapolis and St. Paul by our federal government doing this to us. It's unbelievable. We got like 10 seconds here, Robert. We're going to take a quick break. We're with Robert Lilligren, our friend and CEO of Native American Community Development Institute here in Minneapolis and the Twin Cities. We'll be right back. Support comes from the Walker Arts Center, an art space that's more than the spoon and cherry. Galleries celebrate contemporary visual art, including indigenous artists like Edgar Heap of Birds from the Cheyenne and Arapaho nations, and Jim Demeny from the Ojibwe Nation. Additionally, film screens, cinema, and performances are shown on stage. And the Walker is free every Thursday night and free every day for citizens and members of tribal nations. Learn more at walkerart.org.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Rebuilding Together Minnesota provides critical home repairs and safety modifications at no cost to low-income homeowners, with a focus on supporting BIPOC communities across Minnesota, because everyone deserves a safe place to live. If repairs feel out of reach, help is available. Their work helps older adults stay independent, support families, and strengthens neighborhoods. Apply during the application window through March 31st. Visit rtmn.org and select Apply for Help, or call 651-776-4273. Rebuilding Together Minnesota, where neighbors help neighbors.
Ever wonder how far you could go with a bachelor's or master's degree? Metro State University is hosting 2 open house events in February. Learn about our bachelor's degree programs on February 24th. Explore master's degrees, doctoral degrees, and graduate certificates on February 26th. Find out about financial aid options and how to apply. Discover how Metro State can help you take the next step in your career. Sign up today at metrostate.edu/open house. You belong at Metro.
I'm Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, and I want to be your next United States Senator, and you are listening to Native Roots Radio.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot. Hey, welcome back, everyone. We are here with our friend Robert Lilligren, CEO of Native American Community Development Institute here in Minneapolis and the Twin Cities. Robert, one of the things, we talk jokingly about the Super Bowl and watching that and Bad Bunny, but even another story now, which I really, really appreciate, is the Seahawks are not going to the visit with Trump. And that's a kind of an annual thing. When anyone wins a championship, they go to the White House. I am just ecstatic that they made that decision.
I give them a lot of credit. Of course, they're not the first national champion sports team to make that decision, but I think it's the right one. And I really give the NFL some credit as well, not just because of the halftime show, which I thought was glorious and I really enjoyed, but because of their overall attitudes. They're very affirming, they're a very open kind of organization. Being a two-spirit person myself, I appreciate their openness to the LGBTQ plus community. And in my mind, they're doing it right? There's going to be a time after this horrendous administration, and when these white supremacists and fascists essentially are kind of put back, hopefully in a box where they came from, and then we can go on with our lives, and people will remember, People will remember who their friends were. And I think I give the NFL some credit. I'm not the world's biggest football fan. I did watch the Super Bowl. We usually have the games on Sunday, but yeah, I'm impressed.
Yeah, and it's interesting too. I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but I will ask you this a little bit: is that do we have any kind of Nuremberg trials after he leaves? I mean, I always like to say, Nixon didn't go to jail, but his attorney general sure did.
Right. So justice needs to be served, right? And right-thinking people who believe in our systems of democracy will need to exert ourselves, and there will need to be justice. And I'm sure the people who are perpetuating the downfall of our democracy and this white Christian nationalism and this really fascism, let's just call it what it is, they know that, right? And so that's going to motivate them to try to hold on to power. But we'll see. I still believe in elections, and just looking nationally at the landscape, there have been a lot of these kind of bellwether state house district kinds of races. Some of them are in the deepest red districts, and we're seeing these wild swings of maybe 30 points. House districts, Senate districts, more local districts that Trump won by 30 plus points are now turning blue. And so we're seeing 30 plus point swings in the electorate there. And so I think that's giving me some hope that if we can hold this election cycle together, that we can actually see some change. And a big part of me believes that this whole federal enforcement surge here is about seizing control of our 2026 midterm elections.
Well, it is in a sense of making people fearful about getting out of the house and things like that. And we have to really fire up the base. And I know make voting a tradition really does that. And hopefully we do that by just talking about it and firing up the people that listen to the show. Is that, there were 7 million people that didn't vote this last election. The
Those are the people who elected Trump. The 7 million that didn't vote.
Yeah, and so we have to definitely fire them up again, Robert, and remind people. I heard too, and I'd like to hear what your response is too. This isn't really Nazism. It's more like people are talking about what's happening federally is almost more like Confederate Army from the Civil War is how they're acting, and I have to really think about that because I was a really big fan of history and the Civil War. But that's an interesting kind of a slant to it.
It is interesting. It's oligarchy. What's the term I just read today? Corporatism, was that what it was? It's about rich getting richer and convincing poor people that that's a good thing, right? And so really digging into this dark thread of U.S. history, it's always been here, right? And white Christian nationalism, and remind us that the Nazis didn't figure out what this ethnic cleansing would look like and how to do it. They used American policy against indigenous people to model their efforts. So, you'll hear some people say, oh, this isn't America. This isn't us. It's like, oh, yeah, it is. This has been us all along, and we had made such progress towards equity, equality, civil rights. And that's just being shredded right now by this current administration.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Oh, please. What were you going to say, Robert?
No, I was agreeing. I was saying absolutely. And just kind of seeing what's happening here locally too with the House and the Senate are back in session, and just what people are still staying relatively left and right. And that's really upsetting because we're all one state and we should be protecting our students and our kids and those things. So there's got to be a big shift here coming up soon, and hopefully it'll be the blue wave shift.
Yeah, fingers crossed. And we got to protect our elections, and I'd love to talk about that some more as well. But we're having to plan. We have our Make Voting a Tradition project at NACDI, Native American Community Development Institute, and it's robust. It's regionally, nationally, even internationally recognized. And as we're planning, that's our pin that we put into our planning. The elections this November, and it's just a whole different ball game, right? We have to plan for voter safety and polling place safety, and figuring out what those resources look like. And yeah, it's become very interesting, and we're finally here kind of getting a little bit of what feels like breathing room to refocus on those priorities, like the elections in November and the other work that all of our Native orgs here, Native people do. Then it's got so disrupted, right? Which is part of the point as well of this this distraction of the surge of federal law enforcement here. And so it's like, okay, now we've got to kind of put our eyes back on the prize. We were planning with a 24 and 48 hour horizon through the start of this surge and these crises, just because we didn't know what this world was going to look like in 2 days. And just recently we kind of eased that to sort of a monthly, 3-monthly kind of planning horizon. But our big goal is the elections in November.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got a new hat. I really like the new design where the black letters on the Make Voting a Tradition.
Oh,
I just love it. With the MMIR march, and it was great seeing you, and it was glorious weather, and it's always great to be in community.
Yeah, so every year here for 10 years, maybe a little over, some of our major orgs plan a Missing and Murdered Indigenous Relatives March. Started out as a Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women, but it's expanded, and we've got some real groundbreaking kinds of things that happen here, thanks to our sister in the state legislatures, now Senator Mary Kunesh. We have an office of MMIR that's funded, that helps really lift these issues. But this march last Saturday, it's always on February 14th, was massive march. And it's so good to be in community, and a lot of the families that have missing and murdered relatives speak at the rally beforehand, and it's amazing how courageous these families are, and as they share their stories. So that part's really emotional. But it was a ton of people. Did you hear a final count? I'm not very good at judging crowd size, but I would say it was over 5,000 people that marched.
Yeah, it was up there, and I usually count, but I was walking around with a cane because I did the old man thing. I fell, and so I was only able to see the group come back to the Indian Center. But yeah, it was massive. There was, I want to say, 3 blocks or 4 blocks of people in the street that was just jam packed.
Right, at least 4 blocks. I would say it was a little more. Yeah, sorry you were wounded. I hope you're doing better now. But yeah, but it was just
how it is.
Yeah. It's great to see community come together like that, support each other. It was really amazing. We have a couple of key organizations, the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition, the Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center, the key organizations around this work, and then our Office of MMIR really center this. And like you said, it's kind of painful to hear these very authentic stories from families, but it's also kind of empowering. And I think, I would hope and that it's helpful to feel that outpouring of community support, community love, and it just kind of vibed with what's going on with the community's peaceful and prayerful response to this surge in federal enforcement here.
Yeah, I'd like to, in the last segment with you, Robert, coming up here, I'd love to talk about what Native American Community Development Institute's doing. And we talked a little bit about make voting a tradition. But one of the things, too, I could maybe start out with is, was really sad when people were talking, is that these stories are not only years of people missing, but just recently, too. And that really struck me hard. We're here with Robert Lilligren, our white Earth relative and also CEO of Native American Community Development Institute. We'll be right back.
Ever wonder how far you could go with a bachelor's or master's degree? Metro State University is hosting 2 open house events in February. Learn about our bachelor's degree programs on February 24th. Explore master's degrees, doctoral degrees, and graduate certificates on February 26th. Find out about financial aid options and how to apply. Discover how Metro State can help you take the next step in your career. Sign up today at metrostate.edu/open house. You belong at Metro.
Support comes from the Walker Arts Center, an art space that's more than the spoon and cherry. Galleries celebrate contemporary visual art, including indigenous artists like Edgar Heap of Birds from the Cheyenne and Arapaho nations, and Jim Demeny from the Ojibwe Nation. Additionally, film screens, cinema, and performances are shown on stage. And the Walker is free every Thursday night and free every day for citizens and members of tribal nations. Learn more at walkerart.org. Oh, this is Robert Pilot. For Native relatives, healing is more than just sobriety. It's reclaiming indigenous masculinity as a sacred, balanced force. Join Hunter Thundercloud for Native Roots Radio presents Controlled Fire. We explore how personal recovery uplifts our communities. It's time men step back into roles as mentors and spiritual leaders. Recovery is collective, and it starts with us. Tune in the first and third Wednesday of every month at 6 p.m. for Native Roots Radio presents Controlled Fire. Let's tend the fire together.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Support comes from the Walker Arts Center. Did you know that the Walker has a cinema that shows film almost every week? From artist talks, genre-defined performances, and world premieres to archival shorts and experimental soundscapes, the Walker Cinema explores all modes of global and local filmmaking. Get your first tickets for free. Visit walkerart.org/cinema to learn more. That's walkerart.org/cinema. See you at the movies. Rebuilding Together Minnesota provides critical home repairs and safety modifications at no cost to low-income homeowners, with a focus on supporting BIPOC communities across Minnesota. Because everyone deserves a safe place to live. If repairs feel out of reach, help is available. Their work helps older adults stay independent, support families, and strengthens neighborhoods. Apply during the application window through March 31st. Visit rtmn.org and select Apply for Help, or call 651-776-4273. Rebuilding Together Minnesota, where neighbors help neighbors. Support comes from the Walker Arts Center. Local artist Rosie Simas, Seneca Nation of Indians, Huron Clan, embodies Onondaga philosophies of peacemaking and relationality in new immersive installation. Visit Agay Jagwa Destiny Gowaweni. I hope it'll stir your mind and explore a space built for communal rest and contemplation. Simas presents a performance of the same name this May. Learn more about the exhibition and performance at walkerart.org.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, cloudy with a low of 25, then Friday, cloudy with a low of 30. There's something for everybody at Cafe Latte in St. Paul, from award-winning soup, salad, sandwiches, and desserts to treats from the bakery made fresh daily and a pizza and wine bar. Cafe Latte is located on the corner of Grand Avenue and Victoria Street. Check them out at cafelatte.com. This is AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
You're listening to Native Roots Radio. I'm Bobby Wilson. Witcha.
Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is Native Roots Radio, and we are with our friend Robert Lilligren, CEO of Native American Community Development Institute here in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis. And Robert's a former city council member, and he is just involved in community in such a good way. And we really appreciate your insight in coming on Native Roots Radio as often as you do, once a week, hopefully.
I appreciate it. And I'm always a little surprised, and I mean this in the nicest way, how many people will come up and say, oh, I've heard you on Native Roots Radio with Robert Pilot. Or I've even had people out in the community say, oh, you're Robert Lilligren. I recognize your voice. I hear you on Native Roots Radio. So you do have an audience, Robert, and I congratulate you on that.
I appreciate that. And it's great to have great guests that really, like yourself, that really drive the conversation in a good way, because I would be just sitting here going, for like an hour. But there's people that can definitely talk and talk with themselves on the radio, and I just don't know how they can do it. I just wanted to mention that before we get into what's happening with NACDI, I just wanted to mention that really struck me, that the dates to the people that were talking about their missing and murdered relatives was so recent.
Right. Several of them are from just the last year, which that's got to be so raw. I don't know how they can even get in front of a crowd of people and talk. And it's emotional, right? They're expressing emotion. We're expressing emotion, listening to them. But again, I just hope, I pray that they have some kind of comfort in being able to stand in the auditorium, the gym at the Minneapolis American Indian Center, surrounded by hundreds and hundreds of people, community members, just expressing love and support.
Well, and again, I wanted to talk about NACDI, but I also wanted to talk a little national or world politics, just to get your take on this too. Is the UK has arrested, and I guess since now has released Prince Andrew because of all the Epstein, we like to call them Trump Epstein files now.
Trumpstein files.
Yeah. And it's interesting that the UK is arresting Prince Andrew, and the US is ICE is arresting children. So right. I just that look at what's happening here in this country just does not bode well to. I mean, what are people thinking about us across the world, Robert? Jeez.
Well, I think we have a pretty good idea. I mean, it's just shredded people's confidence in the United States as an ally. There's this new board of peace that Trump's trying to establish, which is a collection of some of the worst tyrant leaders across the globe. And so now they can sit and say, board of peace, we're peaceful. it's a way of extorting money from these dictators across the world. And I think the example of I never knew this was his last name, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, formerly known as Prince. I think that's just really telling. Someone from the pinnacles of power within Great Britain is being brought to justice. And why can't we do that here? And I think a lot of what's going on, this ICE surge here and things like that are distractions, right? They're to distract from the Epstein files. And, it's now turning out Trump's mentioned tens and tens of thousands of times in these files. And he's out there trumpeting to the world that he's exonerated through the release. It's like, no, you're not. You're much more, you mentioned so many times. So I don't even know, there's no reality there, right?
Right.
So you can't really use reason to kind of figure out what your response is. There's nothing rational about what's going on. And so more and more people are seeing this. I think this Andrew arrest in Great Britain will kind of raise some awareness here in the US, but it'll take years, if ever, that we can reestablish America's influence globally. And another thing, I just want to put this in because I'm hearing this more and more, and I'm glad people are raising this issue. And so, of course, we lost civil rights icon Jesse Jackson, the Reverend Jesse Jackson, this week. And there's been no statement from the White House to show respect, to lower the flags. And not that long ago, in Turning Point USA founder, it's a white Christian nationalist organization, renowned racist Charlie Kirk died. Trump ordered the flags flown at half-mast. And if that lack of respect doesn't tell you everything you need to know, I don't know what would.
Yeah, and they're not even hiding anymore, and that's the whole thing. And they're out in the open. There was a guy running for governor, a Republican in Texas, that wants to deport Native Americans, and I'm going, where are we going? Send me to Hawaii or something.
Right, yeah. How to make it work for us, but yeah, I mean, that just shows how ridiculous these people are and how inauthentic. Right? Yeah. They're not about caring for the people at all. They're just about caring for themselves, lining their own pockets. And it's like the worst of American politics, or anyone's politics. And so, so if you want to shift into what's going on at NACDI, I think that's a good segue because, we're really all about the midterm elections now. And, we have our Make Voting a Tradition, a nonpartisan civic engagement, voter engagement, year-round effort. And a lot of our Make Voting a Tradition staff, Jolene Jones, who's the brilliant organizer, leader, and manager of Make Voting a Tradition, a lot of her canvassers, as we call them, have been really supporting the protector movement and keeping the gallery running and organized for Rapid Response Center, Mutual Aid Center. So yay, that's good. I'm glad we had the ability to do that. But we need to pivot back, and we need to be planning for the most, what I predict will be the most tumultuous election we've ever seen. And we're meeting with a lot of local, statewide, and national partners and trying to figure out what this might look like. And for the first time ever, it's hard enough to get people, Native people, brown people, registered to vote and get them to the polls. And now we're going to face these additional barriers of fear, intimidation. We have to be able to reassure people that we're working to keep voters safe and polling places safe. So that's a whole new layer of work that we never have had to do before. And Robert, I suspect that something that looks like this ICE surge, this federal surge, is going to reoccur as we get closer to the elections. And so we can't completely put away our response here, but we may need to pivot back to it very quickly. And And so it's just kind of an all bets are off kind of election cycle. But I do want to say we have a lot of allies, we have resource holders, philanthropy who will be supporting us in this effort. And we've been working years to build these networks, both locally, regionally, with our tribes, our reservations, and with our national partners. And so now it's time to flex those relationships and really start to ramp up our efforts for November.
Well, and two, you mentioned a couple of weeks ago that there's been indigenous organizations reaching out to, especially how well, and I guess, is this the way I can put it, how well we responded to the ice surge and how quickly.
Right. And so I think you're specifically, I met, was it last week or the week before? Time doesn't seem to mean anything right now. It's kind of like COVID era. But there's a great organization based in Seattle called the National Urban Indian Families Coalition. And their brilliant leadership, Janine Kamino, regularly brings together urban Indian organization leadership from across the country. And so we met recently, and it was kind of the Twin Cities and Minnesota show. And these other organizational leaders were very interested in how we responded, what that looked like. And they want to get a little in front of it because they fully expect something similar to happen in their own cities. And so it was very specific. We spoke about our experiences here. They were incredulous. I mean, they'd heard in the media what's going on, but it's worse than people hear. And so then we got through that, and then we started to give very specific and logistical kind of guidance of how we do it here. And that's been my experience, not just with Native people. I had the privilege to meet with some national congressional leaders a few weeks back. Our representative here, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, brought them here for a field hearing, and I was one of the community people invited in advance to kind of give them a flavor for what's going on. And these Congress people from across the country were saying, okay, you need to teach us how you're doing this. We don't have this in our communities yet. And they were looking for really practical, logistical guidance. And so I was saying this to, what day is this? There's yesterday at a community meeting I was at that was getting very emotional. It's a group that comes together to create short-term, midterm, long-term strategies to support our unhoused relatives, right? And our opioid and other substance using relatives. It's a big group and it tends to get emotional anyway. But, I was saying, and this is very true. The world is watching us here right now, right? That's just validation of that. Other people want to know what we're doing. What's the secret sauce here that allows us to be so peaceful and prayerful in our resistance and our actions. And I firmly believe, Robert, and I think I said this on your show last week, but I'm trying to get better thinking in order, and I have some people helping me kind of write about this as well. But it's really the centering of Indigenous values, of ceremony, of practices that are really supporting our whole city and region in remaining peaceful. And we've had every provocation, but we're caring for each other. And I think Native people are really contributing to that.
Wow. What a great way to end this. Thank you so much, Robert. Always my pleasure to have you on with this great information and great insight.
Great. Gigawaba, man. It's always a pleasure.
Right on. Hey, up next, we're going to have Natalie talking about the Minneapolis, American Indian Center, what's happening there, and all the great work that they've been doing. Thanks, Robert. Rebuilding Together Minnesota provides critical home repairs and safety modifications at no cost to low-income homeowners, with a focus on supporting BIPOC communities across Minnesota, because everyone deserves a safe place to live. If repairs feel out of reach, help is available. Their work helps older adults stay independent, support families, and strengthens neighborhoods. Apply during the application window through March 31st. Visit rtmn.org and select Apply for Help, or call 651-776-4273. Rebuilding Together Minnesota, where neighbors help neighbors. Support comes from the Walker Arts Center, an art space that's more than the spoon and cherry. Galleries celebrate contemporary visual art, including indigenous artists like Edgar Heap of Birds from the Cheyenne and Arapaho nations, and Jim Demeny from the Ojibwe Nation. Additionally, film screens, cinema, and performances are shown on stage. And the Walker is free every Thursday night and free every day for citizens and members of tribal nations. Learn more at walkerart.org.
Ever wonder how far you could go with a bachelor's or master's degree? Metro State University is hosting 2 open house events in February. Learn about our bachelor's degree programs on February 24th, explore master's degrees, doctoral degrees, and graduate certificates on February 26th. Find out about financial aid options and how to apply. Discover how Metro State can help you take the next step in your career. Sign up today at metrostate.edu/open house. You belong at Metro.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Hi, it's Dr. Evan Adams, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio. Hey, Victor, you better be listening.
In this portion of the show, we like to bring awareness to our wolf and bear populations throughout Turtle Island. Say no to the hunts.
Right on. Hey, this is Native Roots Radio, and we are with our friend Natalie. Natalie is a comms whiz, editor, and storyteller, and works at Minneapolis American Indian Center. And I just got that off of your LinkedIn, so I'm all on it. Great to see you. How are things going?
Oh, things are good, Robert. Yeah. We've been busy over at the Indian Center. Just, people coming in, seeking community, and just being together right now. So it's been good. I know you were at the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Relatives March this weekend. We had over 1,000 people in our building. So, I don't know. It's good being together right now.
Yeah, we were talking with Robert, and we thought there was at least 4,000 or 5,000 people in the march. It was just an amazing day, and I was walking around with my cane, acting like a real elder. Oh, wow.
I don't know. So you were hobbling around. The seas were parting for you. People were letting you walk everywhere, and I think having a cane, you get special privileges.
They didn't want me to fall on them.
Yep.
Exactly. Well, hey, before we get going on what's happening and just the general vibe at the Indian Center, I want to just mention the restaurant, and I love the restaurant. Can we just talk a little bit about the Gatherings Cafe?
Yeah. So we got a full service, our Indigenous restaurant in the Indian Center. We're really focused on serving foods that are native to Turtle Island and foods that are really approachable and accessible. So tacos, melts, things like that. But I also want to plug, we do catering as well through the cafe. So if you're having an event at the Indian Center or offsite, we recently got a catering van. So we're mobile now. We can cater meetings and events and the whole shebang. If you got a birthday party, and it's all really good, healthy, indigenous food. And the menu's made by our head chef, Vernon Defoe. And a lot of our ingredients come from tribes and native producers in the area. So it's locally sourced, less carbon footprint. And you're helping out tribes and native producers and keeping money in the community by eating.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. And my favorite is the walleye, and I do believe that's from Red Lake, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yep, comes from their fishery up there.
Yeah, I love it. And then there's the bison sandwich. That's my second favorite too. And what I love, the prices are so reasonable. It's not even, not even funny. It's like I'll eat here every week or every day.
I think you do, don't you? You're there most days. Like every time I go down there, you're down eating in the cafe.
Oh, and I might be swinging by tomorrow, but that's just a rumor because
Ooh.
jonesing for one of those sandwiches. So you talked about the march, but also there's other things that are happening at the Minneapolis, American Indian Center. And one of the things I like to talk about is Charlie too. He's been there at the center for so many years, and he's a great artist, and he buys and sells. There's a great place to go and get your needs done.
Yeah. We got Charlie's shop. I think Woodland Indian Crafts is the official name, but I think everyone that's around calls it Charlie's Place. I don't think I've ever heard anyone call it by the official name. But yeah, we joke that he comes with the building because he's technically his own business, but he's been there since like 1979 in the center.
Mhm.
So yeah, he just kind of comes with us. He's a package deal.
Right on. And then do you still have tribes coming in and you guys are available for the nations across Turtle Island to come in and give their members IDs, especially with this ice going on and still going on here?
Yeah, it's still in the thick of it. But yeah, we've been we rent out our spaces to different organizations, and one of the ways we've been helping is inviting different tribes. We've opened it up for tribes to come in and host events to get their members IDs, because a lot of people don't have tribal IDs, and they normally have to go to the reservation to get them, and they cost money, and it's just a big barrier. So I think we've had like 15 different tribes come in and host pop-up events. Yeah, and I know Santee, Dakota will be here Monday and Tuesday, 9 to 4 next week. And then I know there's some other ones, but if any tribes are interested, if they email room booking at maicnet.org, my coworker Kateri can get them set up. But yeah, we're inviting tribes in to come and have these events because it's really important that everyone's got proper identification of everything going on. And so it's been really great that tribes have been coming down and coming from all over to just open that up.
Yeah, it has been. And it's amazing too, the statistic of Minneapolis urban Indians is 75,000 urban Indians, and over 150 different tribes are recognized, or not recognized, but are part of our fabric here in the Twin Cities in Minneapolis. So it's amazing. And tell those guys that are coming down getting some IDs is bring some swag because Robert likes that swag.
Right. He's over in the cafe. Just stop by and say hi.
Yeah, exactly. Or even just some of those tribes. So this is something interesting too. I just saw a video put out about the workout area at the center, and I'm ready to, as soon as I get healed up, I'm ready to lift big to be big and come on down there and use that.
Yeah, we got our fitness center, which once you're healed, come on through. It's free and it's open to anybody. I think 16 and up is the rule that we've got. You just have to register on site, but it's a free fitness center and gym space, and we just got a bunch of new equipment. So it's all decked out. But yeah, it's part of our mission. We're really trying to help our community be healthier and have opportunities to move and be active and be together. And so, yeah, that was closed for a little while because we did a big revamp, but we reopened last week. And yeah, so we're open most Monday through Friday, 8 to 8. And Monday night, we just started, it's women's night. So 6 to 8, it's women only. So women have a space to go and exercise and be safe and comfortable and get help. We've got staff who are awesome and can help people use the equipment and any needs that people have. And yeah, we got a new stair stepper and a bunch of other stuff. So it looks really different than it used to. And and it's free and available to everybody. So just stop on by and register.
That's awesome. And Natalie, I know you're a runner, and I did not know this. So you must be using the treadmill and staying and running, keeping your running going, because you did the run from Port Snelling to Mankato, and that's a brutal run, but also a long run.
Oh yeah, well, luckily we do segments, so we're not running the whole thing. We all do relays, so we chunk it up. But yeah, part of the Indian Center, we've got the Four Winds Native Run Club, and we meet every Wednesday at 6 o'clock behind Owamni on the riverfront side in downtown Minneapolis. And yeah, it's really amazing. The whole mission of the Run Club is, moving in community together and using running as like a healing tool to connect us to the land. And so that's open to anybody, but that's how I stay active. I need accountability, so they're good at reminding me to go out and exercise. So Robert, when we field, if you want to come join us.
Yeah, my knees can't handle it. I'm walking fast, and so we just got like a 30 seconds left. Natalie, can you, for people that are listening to us outstate, can you give an address and also a website or Facebook so people know how they can click in and come visit if they're coming in out of town?
Yeah, I gotcha. So we're on Franklin Avenue. It's 1530 East Franklin, in South Minneapolis is the Minneapolis American Indian Center. And our website is maicnet.org. We're also on Facebook and Instagram too, so find us on there.
Thank you, a big Peony Geek. Thank you so much for stopping in and giving us this great positive news about the Indian Center. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it'd be great, Robert. Thanks for having me.
All right, we'll see you soon. Hey, we'll see you tomorrow. This is Native Roots Radio.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with